What's going on, Husker Nation? Thank you so much for tuning in today. Yesterday, we broke down the defensive line, and today we're going to look at middle linebackers and outside linebackers. I wanted to do the jack linebackers in a video by themselves because I view them as a little bit different than your middle linebackers and outside linebackers in the 3-3-5 defense. Now, we're going to start things off with Jamin Wright. Really, the top three guys are the guys I see being the starters at Nebraska, meaning the guys that are going to play the most, but I wouldn't get too hung up on who starts because a lot of these guys, the top 4, 5, 6 guys at linebacker are all going to rotate and play quite a bit. We've seen that year after year after year with Coach Matt Rule. Now, Jamin's coming back for his 7th year. He's 6'5", and he's probably in the 230 to 240 pound range. When he came to Nebraska, he was a safety, a really big safety, but he was a safety. He eventually put on the weight to be a linebacker, so they dropped him down to the second level. His ability to cover tight ends, to cover running backs, to even cover a slot receiver, because he's very athletic for a guy his size. That's why he's going to be on the field constantly. Whether he's an outside linebacker in a formation is irrelevant to me. The way I view his role is very similar to the role that JoJo Domann held a handful of years ago. Remember, JoJo Domann also came to Nebraska as a safety linebacker hybrid type player. JoJo Domann would line up in the nickel. He would line up at outside linebacker. He would come off the edge, various different roles. Now, that's why I don't worry about his position, because he's going to be a factor all over this defense. Now, in obvious passing situations, because Marquise Watson's Trent is going to be your starter at middle linebacker. But let's say it's 2nd and 13, or it's 3rd and medium, or 3rd and long, or it's a 2-minute drill, things of that nature. That's when you're going to see a guy like Marquise Watson Trent come off the field. Jamin Wright's going to slide over to middle linebacker, and really he's just going to cover either that middle part of the field, the tight end coming out, or the running back coming out of the backfield. That's kind of how I see Jamin Wright's role, a pass defending linebacker who can rush the quarterback from time to time. Another guy at linebacker is Marquise Watson Trent. We just talked about him a minute ago. Coming over from Georgia Southern, he has like 330 career tackles. He's not a great pass rusher. In fact, I don't think Nebraska plans to use him as a pass rusher. I think Nebraska's goal and objective for Marquise Watson Trent, because he's so fast, he can run sideline to sideline. He's very quick twitch, reacts very fast, has that ability, like I said, to go sideline to sideline. I think his objective for Nebraska is going to be to hunt down the running back or hunt down whoever is carrying the ball, clog the middle, or if you have him kind of coming off the edge a little bit there, where the middle of the line kind of funnels the running back outside, it's going to be his job to track him down. Marquise Watson Trent is a really, really good run defender. That's where his impact will be felt on the black shirts. Another really big impact player for Nebraska is obviously going to be Vincent Shavers. We saw him flash as a true freshman last season. There were some struggles, but that Boston College game, I think back, that was like his coming out party, literally from the jump. The first defensive snap of the game for the black shirts, Vincent Shavers blew through the offensive line and lit that running back up 2, 3, maybe 4 yards in the backfield as he was getting handed the ball from the quarterback. And then later on in the game, he was guarding the running back. They were in man coverage. Well, the running back didn't go out for a route. So what does Vincent Shavers do? Realizes the guy he's assigned to guard isn't out on a route, delays his blitz. There's a big opening between the right guard and the right tackle. He sees it. There's no running back protecting the quarterback, and he goes in and lays out Boston College's quarterback for a sack. That's where he's going to excel. Different from Jamin Wright, Vincent Shavers is really good at reading and reacting. He's a violent tackler. He tackles like he's pissed off. Every time it seems like he was just laying dudes out. He reminds me of a very, very young Lavonte David. Maybe a little bit undersized, but he's going to have to gain a little bit of weight. But it's not like he's small. If you think back to Lavonte David's, I guess it would have been his junior year because he was a JUCO transfer. Lavonte was playing at 6'2", maybe 6'3", and 205, 210 pounds. Vincent Shavers was probably around that same weight last year, maybe 215. He's bulked up in the offseason. He's probably around 225, 230 pounds. But Vincent Shavers is an absolute dog. Whether he starts every game or he backs up Jamin Wright is completely irrelevant to me. He's going to play starter level snaps. And in a game against, say, a team like Iowa, who runs the ball a lot, that's when you maybe see Vincent play more than someone like Jamin, because Jamin's a pass coverage linebacker and Vincent Shavers is more of a run stopping linebacker. Now he can cover. That's a part of his game that he needs to improve on. But right now he's really good against the run. Sideline to sideline linebacker. He probably runs a 4.5 40. Quick twitch, accelerates incredibly fast. Really good athlete. Those are the type of athletes you need at Nebraska. They need to increase their athleticism because in the Big Ten, there's so many different offenses now. There's the spread, there's the no huddle, there's the power I that Iowa runs. You have to have a good blend of both physical linebackers, athletic linebackers, pass coverage linebackers. Nebraska's got some of that right now. They're trying to add more, but right now they've got a pretty damn good linebacker core. I think it's going to be quietly the best position group on this defense. Another guy, Vincent Genatone. We haven't heard a lot about Vincent Genatone. And if you recall, probably about a month or so ago, when I did the linebacker room, these are the guys to watch going into spring. I had Vincent Genatone on there. I thought he could be a guy that could push for the 2 deep. I don't think he's there right now. Now, a lot of what we hear is what the coaches say. And a lot of the coaches, except for Dana Holgerson, who kind of just says what he wants, won't address or hype up a player in a press conference. They won't publicly do it. So what we hear is what the coaches say, and then a handful of things we get told from what we call sources or whatever. I just have a handful of people that I'm close to that know some things, but I hate calling them sources because that's such a freaking fake term. It's just people I'm close to. And Vincent Genatone has not been someone that's been standing out, unfortunately, because I think he's very athletic. He might be a year away. He might not see the field. I don't know where he stands right now. He's going into his junior season. He's 6 foot, 225 pounds. He's going to be someone that probably plays on special teams primarily this season. Now, we have a whole summer and a whole fall camp for him to continue to elevate. But right now we're a week away, almost a little over a week away from the spring game. He's someone to watch in that spring game because Coach Rule even said most of the guys playing the spring game are going to be the guys that are, think of it as, like he said, you have the 53-man roster, you have the second 53, and then you've got a handful of other guys that are borderline 105 players or not. I think Vincent Genatone's in that group. I think he's in the 80 to 110. So he's someone to watch. Next Saturday at the spring game, I think his number's 30. Watch Vincent Genatone because he is really athletic. He just needs to start putting it together. He's got very little time to figure it out. As a junior, he's kind of getting buried on this depth chart. Nebraska moved Jordan Ochoa as well, but he's more of a jack, so we're not going to talk about him until tomorrow. At middle linebacker, Christian Jones, consensus 4-star, top 150 recruit, has the size to play right now. And he's been a little bit banged up here and there in spring camp. But at 6'2", 230 pounds, I believe he ran a 4.6 40 at one of those like All-American camps or whatever in high school. Really good linebacker. Now, the transition from high school to college is going to be huge, especially from Nebraska high school football to the Big Ten. That's a story for another day about Nebraska high school football. But Christian Jones proved he can play with at least the other elite recruits in the Army or the Navy All-American Bowl, I guess is what it's called now. He looked pretty solid in that game. I think he also played in the Polynesian Bowl. I didn't watch that one, so I can't comment on how well he played, but I did watch the Navy All-American Bowl, and Christian did play fairly well. Now, Pierce Newberry has been hurt. He, I believe, tore his ACL or MCL, whatever. He tore up his knee. So we're not going to see Pierce at all this year. He's a guy, though, next year at this time, we're going to be talking about, I think, true freshman from Miller North. 6'4", 215 or so pounds, kind of played a very similar role to Nebraska's Rover at Miller North in high school. Now, he's going to be a traditional linebacker for Nebraska. How does his adjustment go from kind of changing positions? And that goes for Christian Jones as well. Christian Jones primarily played outside linebacker in high school. I believe it wasn't until his senior year or late junior year when he transitioned to middle linebacker. So there is that adjustment as well. Now, we do have a few position changes that we do need to address. If you've seen our previous videos, we've talked about it already. But Roger Gradney has very similarly moved down from safety to linebacker. Now, Roger Gradney, if you recall, suffered a pretty serious injury last year. I believe it was in spring practice. I'm trying to think. Maybe it was a spring game or spring practice, one of the two. He is healthy, but he's still kind of in like a green, no contact jersey. He's very athletic. You're converting a safety to linebacker, so he clearly has the speed to be a really good linebacker. Maybe he was considered a slower safety, but he would be considered a faster linebacker, if that makes any sense. Now, he does have to add some weight. He's 6 foot, good height, 205, 210 pounds. In the Big Ten, you're probably needing to be 225 at bare minimum for Roger Gradney. Now, I don't think he's going to see the field this year. I think he still needs to recover and get healthy, learn his new position. He's at least a year away, but he was a consensus 4-star recruit coming out of high school. Clearly, a lot of programs wanted him. They saw him. They knew he was athletic enough to play at the Power 5 level. He had offers from everybody in high school. Nebraska has done this with plenty of guys under Coach Rule, where they change their positions, and then you just got to give it some time for them to learn and develop. He's probably at least a year or two away as things sit right now. Another guy that changed positions, Justin and I talked about this about 2 or 3 weeks ago on our live show, Ramir Stewart. Now, if you think back to that conversation that Justin and I had on our live show, we were both kind of under the impression that this was like a trial thing. Like, we're trying to see, and if this was the coaches speaking, we're trying to see where he best fits on this defense. We both thought he was probably still better suited at safety. Well, guess what? This is why we're not coaches, because he's listed officially now as a linebacker. He's also added a little bit of weight because they updated some of the guys' weights on Huskers.com. Ramir Stewart at 5'11" is a little bit on the shorter side for a linebacker. Now, Marquise Watson-Trent's also about 5'11", but Marquise Watson-Trent's probably 230 pounds. Ramir Stewart has bulked up a little bit. He was about 190, 200 pounds last season. Right now, he's listed at 210 pounds. With his speed, he can get you sideline to sideline. Now, can he be physical enough to play in the box? Can he be physical enough to take on an offensive lineman? Can he fill that gap? Say he's blitzing. Can he fill that gap, plug that hole, tackle, disengage from the block, and go make the tackle? We don't know that. And we don't know how he's doing at linebacker. But these are valid questions, I think, when you have a guy coming down from safety to linebacker. One other guy we need to talk about. Not on the radar for anybody. At least not for me. And I don't think for Justin either. Because when we talk about whether it's offline or texting or whatever, when we talk about players, nobody mentioned this guy until yesterday. And it was Coach Matt Rule who announced he's now on scholarship. Jacob Bauer, linebacker, middle linebacker, now on scholarship, walk-on, 6'1", 220 pounds. He is a sophomore from Rancho Santa Margarita, California. Apparently, he's just balling out. And according to Coach Rule, he's been running with the ones, which is a little bit surprising considering I believe he's a middle linebacker, and considering Marquise Watson-Trent is here. And considering Christian Jones is here, who we think is going to play as a true freshman, but this kid, Jacob Bauer, apparently is absolutely balling out. Now, I went ahead and I got his profile pulled up here on Huskers.com. So we can kind of read a little bit about him. We can educate ourselves because we need to know about this kid. And if you're like me, you didn't know a lot. So 2023, he redshirted. 2024, he played in 6 games apparently in 2024. He made his Huskers debut against UTEP, and he recorded his first career tackle against Northern Iowa. Now, prior to Nebraska, this is what we need to know. He was a standout football and rugby player in Southern California, which rugby is huge in California. It's just funny talking about rugby considering Nebraska is now changing to a rugby-style punter. Can he punt? I have no idea. That would be crazy, though, if he could punt. I'm getting sidetracked. I'm sorry. On the gridiron, Bauer was a productive linebacker for Santa Margarita Catholic High School. In his final 2 seasons, he was credited for 174 tackles, 6.5 sacks, 4 interceptions. He recorded 116 tackles in his senior season with 9 TFLs and 4 sacks to go along with 3 pass breakups, an interception, and a fumble recovery. He was selected to play in the Orange County All-Star game after his senior season, where he was named the top defensive performer. Now, a little bit about his rugby stuff. As a rugby player, Bauer helped his SOC Raptors team to a runner-up finish in 2023 Tier 2 National Championships. He was selected to participate. Wow. He was selected to participate in the 2022 USA Rugby Men's Pathways Winter Camp. He was also one of 23 players chosen to compete for the under-18 U.S. national team in the summer before his senior season. He actually considered pursuing rugby before deciding to walk on at Nebraska. If you guys have never watched rugby, I highly suggest you do because it is an absolutely insane sport. I had a friend in high school many years ago that played rugby and he ended up playing at KU. That sport is just absolutely insane. You have to be insanely tough, physically and mentally. And the one thing about rugby too, everyone there, for the most part, is athletic. They can run, they can hit, they can tackle, they can carry the ball. It takes a unique person to play that sport. Now, that's all I've got for today, though. Stay tuned for tomorrow as we are diving into the Jack linebacker positions, and I will have our subscribers of the week as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day, everybody.